welcome to Traditional Painting the Digital Way. This is where I use digital painting apps to teach traditional painting techniques. This is part 2 of my Autumn Road series, and in this video we're going to go ahead and add the final details to the painting and finish it up. If you want to follow along with traditional materials, check out part 1 in this series where I have a list of all the paint and canvas and the brushes that I use. For this part of the series, we're going to be using Infinite Painter. And here I'm just going ahead and adding more blending to the grass along the side of the road. And I just want to continue using upward strokes like I did in the last video to try to get a grass-like texture and a grass-like look. And then I want to add some more shadows to the bottom of the tree. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Pollock brush to get a darker sort of rough look underneath the trees here. And then I'm also using it to smudge the purple and make it blend into the other colors here. And if you're following along with your acrylics, you can use dioxazine purple for the shadow color. Maybe add a little bit of white acrylic gesso just to give it more of an opaqueness and maybe not make it look quite so dark. And then here I'm using the Renoir brush to add a little bit more texture to the trees along the side of the road and kind of darken them a little and adjust the shape a little bit too. And then I'm using the blending brush to kind of smudge them in. And you just kind of go back and forth and do that till you get the look that you want. And here I'm trying to put a little bit of some light yellow leaves on here and some light orange. And these are on the more distant trees, so you want those to be smaller, maybe not quite as intense. And as you come forward, you're going to want it to look brighter in color and darker. And then I'm just adding kind of some color to the side of the road because there's a lot of fallen leaves that have blown across it and have caught in the grass along the edges of the road. And then evidently I forgot to hit the record button because I have a segment here that's missing. But what I did was I just added more leaves to the side of the road and added in the tree trunks. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of the ruts to the road here with a little bit of a darker color. And also kind of add it underneath the leaves and kind of smudge it out. But you want these brush strokes to look rough because they're kind of ruts in the road and mud and things like that. And so you want to go ahead and just kind of get uneven strokes here across the road, but keep them horizontal because if you make them vertical, it will make the road look crooked and it'll mess up your painting. It'll look like it's leaning to one side or something. So you don't want to do that. Just make sure that even though the strokes are broken and uneven, that they're still horizontal. And you can add a little bit of purple to that. If you're following along traditionally, use dioxazine purple with a little bit of white acrylic gesso, and you can use your filbert brush for this or a number 6 bristle, just something that will give you short choppy strokes. Even your flat brush, your number 6 flat would work well. And then here I added in the post along the side of the road, and about this time I decided that in relation to the posts, if I put the little girl in, it's just not going to work. She's not going to be big enough. So I decided, okay, well, that's not going to work. So this painting is just going to have to be of an old road and the fence. And I'll do a different background for the little girl. And so I just went ahead and started working on the leaves again and the grass along the side of the road here. I'm using the Pollock brush to get a sort of a textured look of the grass and vegetation that grows on the side of the road here, and it also covers up the bottoms of the posts, and I'm adding a little bit more dark green back into the picture, and I'm making it more intense in the foreground because you want the colors to look darker in the foreground and also brighter. And I'm adding a little bit of yellow ochre to the grass along the road and in the field, just trying to give it more texture, make it look like there's a lot of different kinds of vegetation out there, because you don't want it to look just smooth, because that would be boring and it wouldn't look accurate to nature, because most things in nature don't look smooth and uniform. So you want the rough look there, and I'm sort of smudging it out a little bit more in the field, and that just gives it more texture and makes it look more like grass and whatever else is out there, different kinds of bushes. And then I'm working a little bit on the post there, and you can use a burnt umber color if you're following along traditionally, and a number 3 round brush will work well for the posts. And then you can add a little bit of orange, light orange, for the highlights. You have to be careful that you don't lose that in your field, so you might want to add a little bit of white on it later. And then here I'm just working on the road again, darkening it in the center and just kind of trying to show the ruts that are in the road, and then doing the tire ruts with a lighter color, and then going back and just kind of smudging across it. Like I said before, you want a real uneven look there to make it look like it's dirt or clumps of mud or something. And then if you want to go, I want to go ahead here and add the wire. So what I want is a real thin line, and I was using the pen tools in Infinite Painter. And if you're following along traditionally, you would use your script brush and just get a really thin layer of paint, thin it down with water, and roll your brush tip in it, and then just draw a real thin line. And you don't want it to look real straight, because I want some character to this fence. So I'm making it look kind of crooked and everything. And then I'm working some more on the bushes in the field, just adding some more bushes to kind of give it an eye stopper there, where your eye doesn't go off of the painting. Eye stoppers make your eye stay on the painting. And then I wanted to add some yellow leaves to the trees that are closest to you, and add some kind of bright orange or sort of reddish looking leaves as well to the grass that's on the side of the road there. We just want to kind of give it some color, and then add a little bit of some highlights to the tree trunks here with a really white color, but not pure white, just kind of an off-white or an orange. And you make that color, if you're following along traditionally with your acrylics, use white acrylic gesso and add just a touch of cadmium orange. And then I wanted to add a little bit of some texture to the road to make it look like it has gravel, so I'm using some of the spatter brushes that are in the airbrush category, and make it look like gravel. And if you're doing this traditionally, you can use an old toothbrush with really thin down paint and just splatter it on your road part. Make sure that you don't get it anywhere else. And then I wanted to add some shadows, so I'm doing the fence post shadows with a purple color. You can use dioxazine purple if you're using your acrylics. And you can just kind of make it look uneven because the road's uneven and the grass is uneven there. And I put a little bit under the trees and under the bushes that I added in the field there. And then I highlighted the bushes again with kind of a mixture of a light yellow or a yellow ochre. And then I'm just kind of smudging them around the edges there. And you could do that with your finger or a paper towel if you're following along traditionally. I just wanted to kind of look like the grass is growing up around some bushes in the field there. And then I'm working on the post a little bit, adding some details to those. And then you can add detail to the grass. And so you would take your script brush, if you're following along with your acrylics, and use a very thin down mixture of green paint and just add individual grass strands and put them up around the posts and around the trees on the other side on the road, and that just kind of gives it a really good detailed look there. And then I want to go ahead and work a little bit more on the details in the field, and you can use a lighter yellow color for that, and you can take a yellow ochre and put that along the side of the road there. And right now it's not really showing up, so what I needed to do was get a little bit lighter yellow, and you would just add more white to your mixture if you're following along with traditional acrylics. And I just kind of wanted to add these individual strands to the field to just give it some more texture. Just make it look like there's big clumps of grass that are poking out of the bushes in the back there, and also in the foreground and along the side of the road. And that it just adds more to your picture. It gives it more details, and it settles things back into the background and gives it more of a three-dimensional look when you add these light strands of grass. And it also makes it look like the light is hitting on the edges of the grass on the side of the road there and by the fence, and it settles the fence posts down into the grass, and it just makes everything look more three-dimensional. And also it adds more detail to your painting without putting a lot of detail. That's one of the little illusions and little tricks that you can use to make your painting appear more detailed than maybe it actually is. And then I wanted to just go ahead and darken the road a little bit towards the bottom, because that makes the viewer's eye go upward and towards the end of the road where your focal point sort of is, and it just makes the viewer's eye stay on the picture. And then here I'm signing it, but of course when I sign it doesn't mean that it's actually over. And so what I did here was add some more color to the background trees and a little bit more light branches, just to add a little bit more detail to the final touches of the black background trees there. So this is the end of my Autumn Road series, and my next series is going to be the little girl carrying her stuffed toy, and I finally fixed a better background for her, and I think it will turn out a whole lot better. So if you want to go ahead and see that, just hit the subscribe button. And thanks everybody for watching. Thank you so much for your support. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments down below, and I will catch you later.